The story of Mistral is really the story of three co-founders. We were, I think, maybe a little bored in the big tech companies we were working with. 2023, we realized that this was we knew that it was a very important technology before, but we realized that market concentration was accruing.
In some way, do you feel that there's too much of concentration when it comes to technology creation in the United States?
The problem of market concentration is that it gives excessive leverage to your suppliers if you're a business that is buying digital services. So our customers are at a disadvantage because some of their suppliers are coming to them and telling them, look, you're running, your data is hosted by us, it's going to be more expensive for you. The amount of leverage that is being used to actually build faster is large. And so leverage is good, but leverage at some point breaks. We are not going to be in a world where this is a 70% gross margin business as the world that we've lived in the last 15 years. AI being an infrastructure business, you should run it as an infrastructure business. On the access to capital, it has never been a problem for us. I think the inflection point is making sure that the people that are building companies here and not building companies from other places.
Good morning, Arthur. Thank you so much for speaking to the Economic Times. It's a real pleasure. Let me begin by asking you, you're here for the India AI Summit, right? We've seen a lot of action over the last few days. Today is the last concluding day of the summit. What have been the key takeaways? You were there at the PM's plenary session yesterday.
Prime Minister Modi made a very interesting point on artificial intelligence being a technology that needs to be brought to everyone, which is something we truly believe in. And he made a very interesting point on self-reliance. He mentioned that this was too important a technology for them to depend on others. And so what that meant is that local infrastructure, there should be Indian local infrastructure, there should be Indian models, there should be Indian applications. And so on the entire stack, there needs to be a technology that is controlled by local businesses. And so that's the point which truly resonates with what we have been building at Mistral. It's a company that we started 3 years ago, and we've built the entire full stack offering on artificial intelligence in a way where we can enable self-reliance in every country and for every businesses. And so I made very similar points in the keynote I gave like a few hours after. That the first thing was, if you want such a technology to be decentralized, you need to bet on open source, which is something we've done and something we've led the way for the last 3 years, releasing open source models and then building our business model on top of that. And in that respect, I believe that, and we're seeing that in like all of the conversations we have a strong alignment in between what we propose and what Europe's stance is on the matter of artificial intelligence and what India's stance is on the matter of artificial intelligence. So that's what I can say about the summit. We were pretty much the only European being represented, and we're very happy to be there because as you could tell, the US was heavily represented as well.
Right. In fact, that sparks my next question, In some way, do you feel that there's too much of concentration when it comes to technology creation in the United States? And that, as a European company, do you feel that puts you a little bit at a disadvantage in some ways?
That puts our customers at a disadvantage. The problem of market concentration is that it gives excessive leverage to your suppliers if you're a business that is buying digital services. So our customers are at a disadvantage because some of their suppliers are coming to them and telling them, look, you're running, your data is hosted by us, it's going to be more expensive for you. And tomorrow the problem is that it's not only the data which is going to be hosted by us, it's going to be the processes and the digital workers that are going to be operated by them. So it gives them immense leverage and immense control. And it's a control that can be used for geopolitical reasons as a way of pressurizing the states. It's also a control that can be used to just increase the economic imbalance. So at Mistral, I guess, does it put us at a disadvantage? I don't think so. It actually puts us at an advantage because suddenly our customers and all of the enterprise market and all of the states are realizing that the market concentration is currently too high and it needs to be reduced. And we happen to have made and designed an offering, a software stack that can be deployed anywhere on-prem, on air-gapped deployment, that can be deployed on private cloud, models that are open source and it can be downloaded for free and deployed for free. And that business proposition is actually a way to increase the leverage of our customers against their suppliers that are promoting a centralized AI deployment. So we work on reducing the dependency to digital services across the globe to a handful of providers.
Right. I think when I talk to some of the companies in India, they have a similar experience, right? Because it's the same issue of the imbalance that you spoke about, right? What is it that India can learn from the approach that you are promoting?
I guess one thing, I don't think we have anything to teach India, I should say. And honestly, a lot of our researchers are actually from India, and we have much more to learn from India than we have to teach it. But first thing is, I think our bet on open source has proven to be the right bet. We were the first to actually release open source models, and we've seen a lot of other labs in the world actually follow that. We've seen Indian labs actually use our models to make them better at certain Indian languages. And so that bet on open source is the way to reduce the leverage that a handful of providers have today. So that's the first thing. I'd say the second thing is local infrastructure. So betting on local infrastructure, building infrastructure oneself is something that we are doing in Europe because our customers ask for it. They ask for more decoupling from their current digital service providers. We see India doing it. So we see that a lot of investment are being made on the infrastructure, not only to serve US providers, but also to serve and to be operated by Indian providers. And there we can be a partner to these constructions because we can bring some bricks of the software that can be then deployed on such local infrastructure. So really the two things that I would say have been successful for us are betting on open source, are building our own infrastructure. And the third thing is also going all the way to the creation of value for enterprises.
Right. Talking about India, talk to me a little bit about your own expectations out of the India market. How does it fit into your global strategy? What are your expectations from the Indian market from a creation and adoption point of view of your models, of your offerings?
So India is a new market for us, and we are starting to hire here locally people from on the commercial side at the moment. We think it's a huge market in the consumer space. It's a huge market. We're not a consumer company, but we work with a lot of consumer-facing companies, and so we can help them scale their AI systems. We are very strong at making small models that are specifically made for a purpose. And small models have a lower footprint, which means that they are less expensive to serve, which means that down the line, the end users can access it for a lower amount of money. And so making AI cheap and making AI affordable is something that we can really help businesses with. And so we're looking at partnering more closely there. The fact that we can bring a software stack on top of local infrastructure means that we are actively looking at partnering with a local infrastructure provider that are building sovereign cloud, something that we do across the globe, partnering with sovereign cloud providers.
Okay.
And then finally, we are very eager to work with two areas. One is startups, which are using our open source models. And the other sector where I believe there are some convergence is defense. We work heavily with the defense sector in Europe, and AI is a very critical part to defense systems. And because we can provide things that are fully deployable and fully and where we can disappear as a provider, which means that the turn on, turn off button is within our customers' hands. It means that the defense systems we actually enable are true defense systems that are fully independent.
Talking a little bit about the data center play, there's so much of compute that is getting invested by players like OpenAI and Google, right? So do you feel that that is something that Mistral also needs to significantly expand on, or is that going to be like a big advantage or a big lever on which the success of companies in the near future will depend on? And how are you thinking about it?
Now we're expanding our compute aggressively as we see a lot of demand for it. We are doing it in a way that is financially reasonable, in that we are also working toward having a path toward profitability, and we've been very capital efficient when it comes to training our models. So that's something we want to stay. We are also very efficient when it comes to serving our models, so that's something we also invest on. So we're scaling aggressively, and we'll have more than 200 megawatt by the end of 2027 under management. On the other hand, we just want to make sure that from a financial perspective, we can bring return to our shareholder base. And so that's something that that requires like setting the right cursors, and when it comes to being ahead of demand and focusing on efficiency rather than scale and this kind of thing. So we're efficient and we're scaling, and we think that efficiency is going to be key in the world that is to come.
Right. You said efficiency is going to be key. Do you feel that there is already some froth in the US market, because there've been concerns of a bubble, and there are conversations that the kind of investments that are going into building compute are not justified by the revenues or the ROI, right? The returns on investments. What do you feel?
Well, I'm not going to comment on some of our competitors, but the amount of leverage that is being used to actually build faster is large. And so leverage is good, but leverage at some point breaks. So for us, what that means that we just need to be very solid to scale, but focus on efficiency, to make sure that we take leverage, but not too much. And so again, it's a balance. Do you want to? Are you going fast enough? Not fast enough? It's everybody sets its level of risk appetite, etc. It's pretty clear that some are taking pretty heavy risks, and so making assumption on like a winner takes all, which is actually absolutely not the kind of dynamic that we see in the market. So AI is too important to. I think artificial intelligence is too important to technology for market concentration to accrue. It's going to reduce. And so what that means is that when you have a lower market concentration, well, then you need to be more efficient because your margins are going to be lower. And so the amount of competition we see on that space means that we are not going to be in a world where this is a 70% gross margin business as the world that we've lived in the last 15 years. It's going to reduce. And so what that means is that AI being an infrastructure business, you should run it as an infrastructure business. When you run an infrastructure business, you also focus on the return on investment, on capital invested, and metrics that are boring for a tech company, but that are very well known for a utility company. And as technology is becoming a utility, and AI is really a utility, well, focus on efficiency is going to be extremely important to sustain a business.
Arthur, let me talk a little bit about your sort of motivations for starting Mistral. Tell me a little bit about your own personal journey.
The story of Mistral is really the story of three co-founders, me, Guillaume, Timothée. We are researchers by training, and I'm a researcher by training. Did 10 years of research approximately, and spent most of my time in academia, so like let's say 5 years, and then spent three years at Google. When I started to work on large language models, and so Guillaume and Timothée are longtime friends, and they were working at Meta on similar things. 2023, we realized that this was we knew that it was a very important technology before, but we realized that market concentration was accruing, and that in Paris, we could actually gather very strong researchers quickly. And that, and we were, I think, maybe a little bored in the big tech companies we were working with. And so we saw the opportunity, we saw the needs, we saw that we could actually concentrate talent, which is the first thing you need to do as a startup, is just the right founding team. And we got started. And to be honest, in 2023, we had no idea how to build a business. We built a research lab first, which is the thing we knew how to do. And even that was fairly new to us. We made it bigger than what we knew how to run before. And then we raised money, and that means we had to build a business. So we focused very early on the enterprise sector, which meant that we then built the go-to-market function. We built a product function, which means my role has departed pretty significantly from being a researcher to being operating multiple things, and we've been lucky to hire people that are experts in their field and able to help us grow the business.
Right, great. So I think you recently raised $1.2 billion, right? That was like a very significant amount of sort of funding that that a European company. I think it was the largest ever, right? Could you talk a little bit about the future in terms of the funding requirements of AI? Like you said, it's very capital intensive. Do you feel that being headquartered in Europe is some way you would rather be in San Francisco, which is sort of attracting so much of capital as well as talent?
I mean, the point of creating a company in Europe is not to go to San Francisco. We have a Palo Alto office that I spend a lot of time in, but the business is headquartered in Paris, where I live, and where Guillaume and Timothée live, and so on the access to capital, it has never been a problem for us. Capital is global in that it flows to the biggest growth opportunities and the best equity stories and the best positioning, and basically it goes where the market is going to be,
Right.
Or wherever the investors think the market is going to be. And so, as long as we've been able, and we're continuing to be able to show that we grow fast and that we have a differentiated offering, etc., it's just as good to be in Paris than to be in San Francisco. And I would even say a part of our value proposition is actually anchored in not being a US company.
Right.
And so that's and that attracts a different kind of investor. So ASML invested
Right.
because we're helping them, but there is a secondary European story behind it as well. So access to capital is not a problem for us because the business is growing, and I think there is a strong appetite from capital investors to also diversify away from just purely investing on the Silicon Valley, which is good, but where it's hard to build alpha, I'd say. So
Right.
so investing in India, investing in Europe is also a way for investors to be smarter than the others, and they
Right.
like to do that.
Right, and diversification, like you said.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. I think you're one of the poster boys of the European innovation ecosystem by having started Mistral. There are a couple of, I mean, there even though they're lesser in number, but I think more and more companies are emerging out of your. I had the good fortune of meeting Mati from 11 Labs during his trip. What can you tell us about the European ecosystem? How can we strengthen it further? And probably what lessons can India also share? Because we also have a very strong ecosystem which is coming up.
Yeah, there is a great European ecosystem of AI startups. Marty is one of their leaders. So we get along very well with all of these people. There's Black Forest Lab as well, which is working in Germany. There's Lovable as well, which is in Sweden. So there are great teams. Europe is a great talent pool. And overall, I think what this company and what we've shown is that as long as you were decided enough to build a business from Europe, you could. And so I think what India can do, which we are starting to do as an ecosystem in Europe, is to actually behave as an ecosystem and make sure that the Indian entrepreneurs are doing their companies from here and not from the Silicon Valley. Because all of this innovation power, if it flows to the US, then this is lost for you. These are lost opportunities for any country that leaves the entrepreneurs leave their country. So,
Right.
so having a strong enough ecosystem, having access to capital, having access to markets is critical in making sure that entrepreneurs are doing what they want to do in the countries where they live in instead of going where everybody is.
Right.
And so in Europe, I think we are getting there. The ecosystem is younger than the US. So of course, there are some higher friction certain places, etc. But it will get there, and the ecosystem is getting older and older, so it's getting easier and easier to hire people, to hire
Right.
executives, etc. In India, it's going to be the same.
Yeah.
But at some point, I think the inflection point is making sure that the people that are building companies here and not building companies from other places.
Right. I think you could say the same thing for India, and it's really something on which both Europe and India share
Absolutely, yes.
great trajectory. Thank you so much for joining for this conversation. It was a real pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.